So welcome everyone to COFMUG. What month is it? May 2018. Today we have the pleasure of announcing that FileMaker 17 has been released as of Tuesday. And we're going to show off some of the new stuff regarding that. Today we've got a special presenter, Jeremy Brown from Geist Interactive. He will be up in just a few minutes to speak, and we'll just go ahead and jump right in. So one of the new functions that is available in the FileMaker 17 platform is the GetSensor function, and I spent a lot of time looking into this because of the app that I previously wrote called CoreScope that essentially did all of this functionality. So I was very interested to see what kind of sensors they were using, what kind of data they were getting, and what the data that actually looked like coming back from this function. So in terms of the syntax for this function, it's GetSensor is the function, and then you pass the name of the parameter, which is the right-hand column in my list here. So we'll start with available here. You pass that in quotes. So if you see on my screen here, I've got, that's what the calculation looks like. And this one, so in this demo file, which I'll post a little later on the FileMaker community discussion for this meeting, you've got the name of the sensor, the name of the attribute. The name of the sensor isn't important to the function, that's just for your reference to determine what sensor it's coming from on the iOS device. So if you disable some of those sensors, like the location services, you won't be able to use the location sensor functions. But fortunately, the first thing they give you is the available attribute. And if you use that, you get a list, results return to limited list, if I can actually get up on my keyboard, of everything that is available to you. So this return to limited list tells you which sensors are available. So you could check that result first before you run another function. And you can prompt your users if they don't have the location function in that list to say, hey, you need to turn on location services before you can use this function. So I'm not going to go through every one of these, but I just want to kind of scroll through as I talk here so you can see the results of what it looks like. Most of these return pretty reasonable to understand values. The location and location values function or attribute that are in here, they're going to replace the existing location functions. There is a function called location values that is in FileMaker Go that I'm not sure, it essentially returns the same data. I'm not sure they're going to deprecate the old function, but I think FileMaker's preference is that you use this new function for that. Patrick and I were actually playing around with this before, but if you hold very still and refresh, you can actually get these values almost down to 0. For like rotation rate, because it'll actually sense. So like right now I'm not really moving at all, so you see the results go down to 0. But if I start shaking my iPad and pressing it, you'll see that the numbers will start to go radians per second. So another one is compass headings. This one I've played around with a bit. I'm not quite sure how accurate it gets. Like that was 288, so that one seems accurate because the front of my iPad is pointing west-ish right now. But like if I turn my iPad to face kind of north-ish, let's see what it gets. Come on, I got a 10-second timeout, so it's taking all 10 seconds. Yeah, so it didn't change the result at all. So even though I changed the orientation. So it seems like there's still kind of some work to be done to figure out what's going on down there. Now I don't have my health kit stuff turned on, so I don't have access to the step count, step distance, floors up, floors down. I don't think I have air pressure turned on as well. As measured in kilopascals, right? Yeah, one of these is measured in microteslas, and I actually had to look that one up because I was like, really? I think it was acceleration. No, acceleration's in meters squared. Which one was it? Radians. Yeah, there we go. So magnetic field is measured, the geomagnetic data measured in microteslas for X, Y, and Z. All right, so like I said, I'm sure you've already noticed I'm using a new FileMaker 17 feature for this master detail layout, which I'm sure will be talked about shortly as well. But like I said, I'll throw this on the community later on so you can download it, just have it as a play file. Works on both iPhones and iPads, and I'm not sure if there's any iPods that still support FileMaker. I think the latest generation does. So any iOS device in FileMaker Go. If you run any of these functions on the desktop, you're just going to get a blank result. Or in any other context outside of FileMaker Go, just going to give you a blank result in your field. So think about that if you're writing scripts that need to actually test for which device or for a specific result. All right, and that's all I have for GetSensor. Anybody have any other, I know it's only 3 days old, but anybody use this in the wild yet for anything? No? I used it for compass for an inspector to match the orientation of a building and capture the orientation, which is when I ran into the issues with the compass. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem to care about being in real time. Are people throwing stuff on chat? Not showing the chat window. Nope. Still just Beverly's announcement. All right, well, with that then, function of the day is done, so we're going to have Jeremy come up and give his presentation. I need to make him presenter though, so let me do that. Wow. So, yep, take your time. It should have made you the presenter though. Don't forget to share your screen with Good Meeting too. So, yeah, and I'll let you know when I can see it. Yep.
All right, well, welcome. So many. Okay, I'm mirroring my screen. Mirror built in, right now, it says send it this way. Is this going to work? Or is this going to work?
Oh.
What a mess. All right, mirror built in. Who cares? I'll just mirror it. All right. All right. Can you see my screen now? What is it? I can't move my mouse. What is going on? and desktop. There we go.
Sorry, I'm just moving the microphone closer to you.
Okay. All right, jeez.
So just minimize the Go meeting control panel.
Yeah, but I can't get my mouse over there.
Minimize it before you go full screen.
There we go. Beautiful display right there. Jeez. Craziness. All right, well, hi everyone. I am trying to figure this out. Let's just play it and just go with it. What is... I honestly have never seen this before. I've never done that. I didn't. Okay, here we go. Yay, this is a good start.
Yeah, it's weird. If you want, I can project what you put in the Go meeting.
That would be silly. Do it. I don't care.
So just share your screen on Go meeting.
Okay.
And I will make myself presenter again.
Share screen. Show screen. Jeez, what a mess.
So I'm making you presenter again.
Okay.
There you go.
Share. Showing main screen.
And I'll just put my screen on full screen.
See, it just kicks me out. Okay, there we go. All right. I don't know what's going on, but welcome everyone. That's mine. Okay. Well, see, mine isn't on there. Okay, mine's over here somewhere in the middle. Is that going to bug you, Dave?
The delay? No, that's fine.
How about right here? Would it bug you if I put it right here?
Oh, yeah, that's...
Okay.
It was two of them.
Oh, two.
Two of them pointing at two completely different places on the screen. That was driving me nuts.
All right, well...
You do whatever you like with yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Jeremy. I am with Geist Interactive. I am their evangelist, and my goal is to help spread the word about FileMaker and about what we do at Geist Interactive. So just to show you who we are, this is who we are. There's Barbara Cooney on the left. We have Lance Brandenburg, Todd Geist, that's me. Haley is our office manager / doer of deeds, and Dave Graham over there. This year we, just a little bit info about us. Oh, and Dave Ramsey is sort of an adjunct person in our group. He wears the shirt a lot, so he must belong to Geist Interactive, right?
At least partially owned.
Partially owned, yes. Well, he'll be in our booth. We are going to be at DevCon, and myself, Todd, and Lance there, the second from the left, are going to be speaking. I'm doing a training session on JavaScript, so that should be fun. I'm in the middle of learning JavaScript, so it should be good. But I'm more at the beginning. But
I think it's safe to say that nobody ever learns JavaScript.
Sure, yes, yeah. My goal is to bring it to the FileMaker developer world because it's really not that difficult. And I think a lot of people's barriers into JavaScript is simply psychosomatic. It's just, they think that it's difficult. They think that it's challenging, that it takes a lot of time, and none of that is true. Well, maybe the last one, but that's okay because we love developing, we love playing. It's okay. Todd is speaking on two things, on modular FileMaker and Microsoft Office 365 add-ons. And Lance is doing some testable FileMaker, how to test your FileMaker applications. So yeah, we're a Diamond sponsor of DevCon this year, which we're really happy about. We'll be all over the conference, and Dave will be in our booth, chained to the wall, never able to leave. We'll feed him dinner through the cloth under the table, and he can get down there and get food. So, We think custom software is a right. We're very interested as a company in getting software to people. People own their software. They should be able to use it and have it for themselves. And we deliver that through either our custom development, through our products, or through our blog posts and giving out free tools. So yeah, we love all things FileMaker. We love JavaScript and JSON and all that stuff. Today, we're going to take a look at FileMaker 17, considering all the pretty shiny things. And maybe some JS stuff if we have some time. More than just a laundry list of features, I don't want to go through just all the features and demo those because they're boring. I will demo them, but what I'd like to do during this time is talk about how we can possibly use these features and think about some timing involved in this. Either we're going to jump right away and start using 17, which Joe, you're doing, or we take a step back and we look at our custom apps that we have in use right now, and we ask ourselves, when are we going to do this? So it's very much a time for you to engage, and as we look at the features.
Sorry, I'm just answering the chat.
Do I have something in my nose? Is that what? Oh no, they can't see that. Okay.
What's not but Backspace, the GoToMeeting people don't see the GoToMeeting control panel bar.
Oh, okay.
So only we in this room can see that.
Okay.
They only see your screen.
Okay, that's good.
For the record, thank you for not using that stereotypical gear thing with 3 gears locked into a possible configuration.
I just got this from Noun Project. It took 5 seconds to find. So. Okay. The biggest thing that I want to get across and that Geist Interactive is interested in is that, it's on the previous slide, but we don't consider FileMaker just a product. Todd wrote a great post about who cares about the number 17? Who cares about this big release here? Because FileMaker is a platform and it's just going to continue forever. We get yearly releases and it just builds upon each other. So there's a lot of discussion right now in the community about should I upgrade? Some people are still on 11, people are on 14 or 15. People are on 5. And it's kind of ridiculous to us that people would be so far behind. Obviously, if something meets their needs, it's going to, I guess, work forever for them. But FileMaker is so much more than that. So if all the features don't satisfy our itch perfectly this round, hey, in less than a year, actually, they might. So it's not a big concern to us about the number anymore. Todd specifically says he's not going to talk about any features, but since then I've written posts about the features, and I'm here to talk about the features. I'm not Todd, so I can get away with it, but yes. So, all right, so our objectives, again, we're going to look at this, and our goal, animation is really slow. Our goal is to think about every feature under these kind of ideas. Obviously the feature itself, the uses of it, and the timing of it. The when do we want to start working on this? When 16 came out, I think the second it came out, people abandoned script parameters using a list method or other custom functions and went right to the JSON. Because there's just no reason to use those hacky things anymore. And custom functions, you can argue, are hacky because they're not actually built into the product, and we have to code those ourselves. So card windows, immediately we stopped using popovers. Popovers are so gross nowadays, I think. You know, they only have the context of the layout they're on. You can't put them in. Can't put a portal inside of a popover that's inside of a portal. So there's a lot of limitations to them. But card windows, it's all, there's almost no limitations. So I'm interested from you all and people in the chat if you can answer this too. But when are you going to start using these items? Okay, are you going to start right away or are you going to wait? So the first thing about 17 is that now everybody has the access to the advanced tools. And there's a great amount of tools. I wrote a blog post about this, and I'm really happy that this is the case because everybody can be a better developer, and no longer do I have to ask people, do you have FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Pro Advanced when they have 17? Because I know that I can tell them, go to the script debugger, walk through the script, or you create this custom function. We don't have to worry about that anymore. And it just makes them a better developer. So I'm sure all of us are using the advanced tools already, but for those folks who haven't, this is a big win for them. They get all of this stuff, and especially the data viewer. I wrote a post about the data viewer. So I was a teacher for 15 years, and then I stumbled into FileMaker building an app for my school. And for at least 2 years, I did not use the data viewer or the debugger because I didn't know how to use it. And the day I started using them, I'm like, what the heck? How did I go without this, right? Who did the same thing?
Yeah, but I just discovered like 6 months ago.
Okay.
So there was 6 months of developing FileMaker before I figured out how to do the lookup. So
yeah,
everybody's got that story.
Everybody has that story, and it's just amazing. Of course, I don't ever do lookups. Do you do lookups still?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use them at all. Okay, anyway. All right, so, but these are the great things that everybody has access to. So obviously, we want everybody to start using these right away. The timing is now to start using them, as long as they have 17, of course. So that's good. All right, next one is default fields. So this is a new awesome functionality of FileMaker where you can set up under the hood FileMaker to create any fields that you want when you create a new table. So I created this new table, and automatically FileMaker had these 5 fields set up for me. And that's a pretty amazing thing because it just saves another step. In previous versions, we would have to copy and paste them from one table to the other, but we always still had to make these the first time. And if you look at that creation timestamp, there's a lot of options to check, and it just saves us time. We don't ever have to do this anymore.
And if you copy and paste the serial in the field that pasted the next value.
Exactly, yes. So, yes?
Is there a way to define your own fields?
Yep.
Yes.
So I'm going to do that here. I don't think I have it here, actually. So this is the first step in working with the actual underlying XML that FileMaker has. And we can now access this, and we can adjust it to how we want. So let's just do that. Again, I did write a post about this, but there's actually well, I'm going to show you where it is. So there's a shared folder. It's users. It's shared it's user shared FileMaker shared, I think is the path.
Control click on the folder.
Thank you. I didn't know that I could do that. Control click. Control. There we go. Yeah. So Jeremy Brown, Mac, users shared, FileMaker shared. So in this, I have a XML folder file that I can adjust as I see fit. And I've done this already. So in mine, it's just a basic 5 or 6 fields. And all I've done is I've changed one name, the primary key's name, from primary key to what I like, ID. So this allows me to do this. Now, this is an XML file that I can generate manually. I can also get it from a certain location inside of FileMaker, which I'll show you in a minute. And Nick Orr from Base Elements, one of his people, actually wrote a FileMaker file that can generate this for us. So, and you can set these fields to be whatever you want. In this case, it's getUUID, but I can change that to use serial number, any calculation, right? So this is just worth some studying for people. This is what's going to happen every time I create a new table. So if I go to FileMaker here and I just open up any old file, I don't care what it is, companies, I'm going to be using that. And I manage database, create a new table, test. It's already got those 5 fields, and it's got that ID in there. Now, Lumenfire, I didn't realize this, but Lumenfire said you don't even need to close FileMaker to do this. If I wanted to call this primary key PK ID Let's see, company.
I know we're recording this, right?
Yes. So I'm just going to use every naming convention out there, and I'm going to save this up, save this, and then go to back to FileMaker, create a new table, and yep, it picked up my changes right there. So that's pretty dang amazing that I can do that. And again, this is the first step in what we hope will be many more ways that we can customize this, right? And for teams of developers, it's a simple matter of placing this file where in that shared folder to have the same naming convention. And we never have to fight over what it is because the top of the company said, here's what it is. We're gonna do that. We're gonna move on.
Have to train new developers for what your naming convention is.
Yes. So
you can just create an example table.
Yeah. So they become thoughtless drones, right? Yeah.
They exist only in click buttons.
Now you can disable this for sure by clearing out this default XML file and just leaving it blank. And if you leave it blank and save it in that same location, it will never create those fields for you. So, who what? If they're poorly formed?
Yeah.
Good question.
It's broken XML.
It's going to be ignored, I believe.
So just treat like
Ignores the whole thing or ignores something.
Let's watch. Let's do it and see.
Let's break it.
So like break the third field or something.
I'm just gonna break the third field. Let's see, field.
Add like an extra quote or something.
Add an extra quote right here. Okay. Boom.
Now it's really
Now it's broken. Go back to FileMaker. Create a new table. Oh. There we go. 2 fields were created, so it skipped it. Well, and that would make sense because a quote's going to break. But if I did something to just one row, right? If I just said like, if I left the field type out, like if I left a required part of it,
You just broke one.
I just broke one. So this would be the third field again. So let's create another table again. Okay, so all 5 fields were created.
So
That's
I guess that one wasn't actually required.
So yeah, because
Field type normal.
field type normal. Interesting. I didn't.
Try data type.
Okay, get rid of data
Seems like
type.
more,
This is created by. Let's remember that. Okay. Broken. So 4 fields were created. So it skipped just that broken field.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where was that file again?
So it's in that. Well, I'll show you where it's located, but you place it in the shared folder. That where was it again? Recent folders. So it was users shared, FileMaker shared. That's the path. But it's actually found in the applications folder in FileMaker 17, in FileMaker Pro, Advanced, Show Package Contents, Resources. I'm going fast because it's written out somewhere in many places.
Everything recorded.
And it's being recorded. So then it's in, where is it? It's in English, something, Proj default fields. So that's where it is right there. And I can pick that, I can copy that out, put it in the other location, edit it all I want. And
If you're in the ES, so are there default fields in Spanish?
oh, let's see. Default, yeah, there are. So if you want everything named in Spanish, you can use the Spanish one instead. Actually, that'd be interesting to see if it would work. I suppose it would work because everything in that shared folder overrides what's here.
Yeah, and it's in Spanish.
Yeah, that's pretty dang cool. Okay. All right, so default fields is great. Ask you this question, I'll do this every time, but would you start using this right away? Yes, Dave?
Already did.
Already did?
Well, it has no backward. It has no backward impact.
No
It
backward.
has no backward compatibility impact.
Yes.
But if you put it in a folder, it won't
There's
hurt anything.
one backward compatibility impact, which is
the ID field defaults to the definition of the new function get UUID number,
Oh, that's true, yeah, okay.
which doesn't work in older versions. But if you override that and use get UUID, then those fields should work fine in older versions.
That's true, that's a good point. The English default fields here uses the get UUID number, the new thing. And what is it default to then? Actually, it's get UUID, that's interesting.
Oh, did they change it? Okay.
They must have, because I do recall it being UUID
The
number.
text field.
It was the case during the ETS. They had it set that way, and they specifically called out in the ETS documentation to watch for this, but apparently they rolled it back. There is a new get UUID number field, and that would be great to use.
Cool.
I think it's pretty interesting about these different keys. I think it's interesting how they make the intermediate state by adding those fields. They've always stayed away from stuff like that.
Yep.
But I've always used serial fields, but it's not ever. Like UUIDs a handful of times, and it's serial fields. I use them. Use UUIDs this system.
And how dare they name my primary key with the word primary key?
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Have they not followed that huge thread in the community about how to name primary keys?
I did find one customer database that had a primary key and a primary key underscore secondary.
A secondary primary key.
This, I mean, look at this for just very carefully. This primary key field has a tag called primary key on it, which is what is used for the add-ons, which we'll get into in a bit, and will be used in future functionality. So it needs to identify which of these fields is the primary key. Where is it? There's a tag in here somewhere. Isn't there a tag? Yeah, primary equals true. So none of the other fields have that because this one is labeled as primary. And that's going to be used. So again, this just speaks to some future functionality that we may get that helps us to create our own custom apps using XML, basically. So yeah, so we agree that we would start using this right away when we get 17? All right, wonderful. The next one is current found set portal. So this is where we were talking about this. I have a small little movie about this. This is just allowing us to create a portal somewhere on our detail layout that reflects what's in the current found set. I'm using those buttons at the top to find certain types of records in this table, and this current found set is reflecting that. So this is useful for something like this, where it's a nice navigation. They also included a new function called get active record number, where you can use that inside of a portal to show a button only when the active record number is equal to the record number. So I'm just doing a quick calculation here. I want to hide this button when the record number of the record in the found set does not equal the active record number, the one that I'm clicking on. So if I do that, then you see I'm in the photo album basic, and the button is showing, and so forth. So that's some nice functionality. There's a lot of possibilities with this, like a list. Beeswax has already done a great example of hiding and showing this on the side. There's a lot of great possibility with this. And like I said at the beginning, because this is now native FileMaker, we can throw out all of those hacky methods that we've done before, like modular FileMaker. Todd specifically has said, I'm throwing out how I used to do it and just relying on this. So, and this could also be a good replacement for list views as well. There are some limitations, not reports. You can't really replace a report, although Beeswax has shown you can do some sub-summary kind of stuff. But But this would be a great way to set up a list view. Any discussion, thoughts on this?
Real estate is the cheap. So
Real
I would
estate?
set it up as a list view on like a mobile device.
You would use this as a list view on a mobile device?
No, I would not.
You would not.
So my demo file today, I had it,
Yeah.
but only in landscape.
Yeah.
If I flipped that to portrait, I wouldn't want it necessarily, depending on what information you want to store in that list. For simple things, it could be fine.
That's a good point, because if this were a list view,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
I just did it.
And-
I mean, that just is, from a navigation standpoint, it's
Yeah.
a game changer. Like you said, just hacky ways.
I read an article on stealth keep while they had the better detail and detail.
Yep.
Slide control on the same level.
Yep. Yeah, so the portal here can slide in and out or show and hide. Yes, that's a great way to use this to add that, extra. Current found sets or master detailed portal setups are very common patterns out there in programming. So people expect it, even though I think Access has had it for years.
When you make a new iOS app, that's what you start.
Exactly. Microsoft Office is a master detail. There's a ton of those. So it's great that we have it natively in FileMaker now. I just thought of something. If I would not use this on a mobile device either if I was only displaying it as a list view. In fact, this could not replace list views where your entire layout is this portal. Because there is no go-to, you could set up a button.
On-record load.
Yep.
So you give you on-record load with like a global variable to figure out if it was coming from the portal and then switch views.
So hacky though, right? So we're delving into that. So that's actually a good point. So maybe list views aren't, going out the door for this because it would take some extra work too. There's no go to related records in this. You would have to set up another button and then do all that. So
Scrolling is also weird.
yeah. And the found set, we were just talking about that, the sorting of the found set. So
Yeah, some waste on list views and that kind of stuff.
yeah. So I mean, would people start using these right away?
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels modern. It feels nice to have it like this. So
Well, like you said,
That's what 2.0.
no, go ahead.
well, first off, I've got a new word in my lexicon, which is hacky.
Hacky, great, love it.
Been using inclusion for 20 years. But yeah, what we used to do, Joe and I were talking about this beforehand, what we used to do, get this, was very hacky. This is,
Yeah.
Yeah. Record gathering, virtual listing, you're talking 2 or 3 hours of work to get this functionality that you can now get in 15, 30 seconds.
Dave, does FM Perception
17 seconds?
call this out as different than a portal? Is there a tag that identifies this one is different?
Yes.
Great.
It's a current concept.
It's called current found set tag in there?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. I was worried about that because in layout mode, these things don't look anything, they look exactly like regular portals. So you have to look down, I guess, at the relationship area.
I don't think you can do what a standard portal is pointed to the same table occurrence.
Yeah.
That it's on.
Yeah.
Record, this way I'm using this is the same as standard portal. You click the portal button, draw it out, and then you select this option from the list.
Yes, but basically they added a new value to the drop-down list, which is the current table occurrence, current table.
Well, they actually got rid of, it doesn't say quite the same thing anymore. It doesn't say show related records from anymore. It just shows records from.
Because it might not be related.
Because it might be the same thing, right? So,
Self-relationships and just all that.
yeah.
And so I think actually in XML terms for the DVR, what it does is, I don't think it records current table. What it does is it puts the table occurrence in the current table occurrence. So I look at that, compare it to the one on the layout, and go, this must be a current found set. It's the same table occurrence.
I wish it, just at a glance, I wish it were a little bit different color, or something. I don't know. Some way to show that it's a bit different, but all right. All right, wonderful. So yeah, that's a great thing. What's next here?
Whatever release says another way to tell is that the sort and filter options are disabled.
Yes, yes. But again, you have to go into the setup.
Yeah, it's not visual.
Yeah. Layout mode is a huge change. We now have docked panels on the right and the left side. As I wrote in a post, it's really going to change a lot of people's, they're going to be freaked out by this and complain all over that the panels aren't where they want them to be. But the problem is that the inspector panel kind of went wherever it went, right? If you were using a second monitor, how many times did you find it on the second monitor? And the layout object window always covered up the inspector if they happened to be in the same area. So I'm really happy for this, and I've been using it for a while, and I actually don't want to go back to 16's layout mode because this has everything is organized exactly where I want. Of course, I'm using a 34-inch screen at the when I'm doing that. So just a small one. It's funny because even though I have a 34-inch screen, I still put windows on top of each other right in the center. I'm not good about my screen space yet, but this is it's going to be good for everyone. We're going to get used to it. And what I like about it actually is, or the thing that I like about it is, in layout mode, you've got it. I don't really care for the movement too much because if I'm looking at this button right here, go out to layout mode, it suddenly shifts.
Yep.
But whatever, I'll just get used to that.
And if you don't have so this is my only pet peeve, is if you don't have the inspector open and you go into layout mode and then if you resize your screen so that it's right towards the edge of your layout.
With that, and then you open it.
The left way. So if you don't have the space for the inspector in the hidden zone,
Yep.
when it opens up, it just opens up right over
Yep.
whatever you're doing.
So this took me about an hour and a half to get used to. I thought I was going to hate it, and now I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say, obviously working on a bigger screen is small, so we have a big issue. Working on this, I tend to work with the mouse and the trackpad, and use the trackpad to move side to side, kind of leading to side. So if you're just using the mouse and keyboard, it does get really annoying on a smaller screen.
I've suggested, and I'm surprised we don't have it yet, but I've suggested a hand tool where you hit the space bar and a hand tool comes up so that you can move the whole layout to exactly where you want. Yeah, so hopefully that'll come. It's funny, I texted that to the PM of FileMaker, and he's like, wow, no one suggested that before. So hopefully we get that in another version. But I like this. I do like the fact that the shortcuts, Command-Shift or Command-Option-T, it hides both. We don't have to worry about hiding. It's an all or nothing thing over on the side. So
It would be kind of cool if I could take all those objects and put them where I want. Like I want the inspector always be on the right and cabinet.
yeah, but we'll get used to it. Every program has their panels wherever where they've chosen, and FileMaker just has them here. So it was funny. I was working in Keynote today because Keynote looks a lot like this, right? It looks a lot now like it. And I actually hit Command B to try to go back into browse mode after working with some things here.
I've done that in other programs all the time.
Yeah, so.
How many times I've gone into layout mode and Adobe Reader.
Yeah, it's funny how I do that in all the other Adobe products too. So the layout is great. The subgroup selection is another one that I love, which I'll take a look at here. But I mean, we don't have a choice. We're going to start using this right away, right? So we can just get used to it and kind of move on. I don't spend a whole lot of time worrying about what might have been or why it's not perfect. I just move on. Subgroup selection is a great thing. We can now, within a grouped set of objects, grab one of the objects by double clicking on it. We get the dotted line, and we can move that thing within the group without disturbing the group anymore. So.
I found this out this morning without realizing this was a feature.
Yeah.
And I almost cried.
Yeah. This is one of those things, again, I don't want to develop in 16 anymore. because it has this. It's small, but it's powerful because we group objects all the time together. So,
How much of this is going to be backward compatible?
Well, the layouts will be backwards compatible, but you won't.
You just won't have this functionality.
Right, that's why I think
You won't have the tools.
Yeah,
So the basic file structure.
yeah, no problems there.
I assume the current portal, the current layout table portal doesn't work.
It doesn't. It won't show up. It'll just be blank. It'll be a blank rectangle.
Will it corrupt anything?
I haven't noticed anything. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question, but it just doesn't know from what you were trying. So again, we'll be using this all the time from now on. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Perform script by name. I'm just picking these, by the way, in the order that I thought of them. So if I miss any during this tour, let me know. Perform script by name. We now can either choose perform script by list and choose from the list of scripts, or we can choose by name and then type in the name of the script there. And that is pretty dang awesome. It adds some more modularity to it. It adds another indirection source that I'm sure real-time developer intelligence tools have picked up on. But that's really good, and it gives us, we no longer have to put a bunch of if statements in there, right? If, else if, to perform a certain script. We could actually put the script maybe in the record, or in some other piece of place that we're storing all of the possible scripts to run based on certain logic. So maybe a JSON object.
There was a very interesting presentation at Pause on air that was about somebody who put all of their quote-unquote code into record data so that it was executed. So like you open up their scripts window for their whole file, there's 4 scripts or something, because all the scripts do are handle what that record data tells it to do. It was Paula Sanch.
Yeah.
But like I said in that session and said, man, I really want to run an indirection report on this file because it's just 100%. But this is exactly, they probably saw this feature came out and said, we're going to use the heck out of this because they can reference a field in here and that field can have a value of the script name to run.
And now that kind of runs afoul of the idea that a table is supposed to hold data, not schema, right? Or not logic, which I know that presentation was all about logic. So if you go that route,
an hour of arguing.
Yeah. But I get that, and I might do that if I had a list of students and there were 6th grade students, 7th grade students, I may have a different script for each grade level of students.
So think about this. Think about writing your own client-facing if this then that logic, where they can specify if this condition then run this script.
Yep.
And you give them a drop-down list of scripts.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. It's still you're storing that as record data somewhere in a settings table, but then at runtime when you're processing that condition, it's pretty powerful stuff.
And another great option in this is if you want to call a script in another file, it's the table field name convention. So you put in your file2 : script name, and so you can build that script right via logic, depending on an external data source, maybe.
Entire library file scripts.
Yeah. So I think this is cool. Will you start using this? Will you start ripping out all your if logic to put this in there, or not right away? No. Okay. Yes, Dave.
As the developer intelligence guy, make a point if you got scripts that you're going to be calling this way to make at least one reference to each of those scripts someplace else.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So make a script that is called, these scripts are only called by script name. And in that, put in a perform script for each of those scripts and comment it out or wrap it up in an if 0 or something like that. Because if you're using a documentation tool, something you can look at the DDR, there are no references to those scripts that are called only by script name.
Great
You
point.
can't tell that you're actually using that script. And so that's the only place the reference comes from. I'll tell you that script's not being used anywhere, or at least not being referenced. Getting into the difference between unreferenced and unused. So whenever you're doing that kind of indirection, I highly advise building in direct links somewhere. You know, make a layout that just has 50 buttons, and each of those buttons just calls that, and you put some text on that layout. Because this is just here to make sure that all of these special things are documented as being used, so that you don't lose track of them 5 years down the line.
Cool.
My personal advice.
That's a great idea.
Great, the user not knowing that. Choose your own administrator.
No, it would not be good if the user made their way to that layout.
All right, so let's.
First step is exit script. All your steps are references
So there's at least 4 ways to do it.
Another new feature is that we can now use we can place the value from an input field on the show custom dialog into a variable. We no longer have to stuff it into a global field like we might do and then use it. We can actually put it into a variable. So that's pretty useful. It reduces one more instance of us using global fields or fields with global storage, and using fields to help us with our scripting logic, if that makes sense. We can keep everything in variables. What?
That is also not Netflix compatible.
That is not. So that'll be interesting to see what happens.
The variable doesn't exist.
Because it doesn't exist. So the data is not going to get pushed through the script. Okay, good point. All right. Next one.
I'm not sure what happens to the dialogue. The dialogue doesn't.
Show up or.
Like if you specified there was an input, I guess it would treat it as a broken field.
Yeah. All right, so I would start using this if I had areas where I was inputting data into global fields via the custom dialog. I might change those out and put them in variables. Would you do the same thing?
I might even use custom dialogues for input more often.
That's a great point.
That's the first step. Then you have to be scrubbing that more. I feel like you need more steps to actually deal with that input rather than a field, I guess.
No, but like if I wanted to ask somebody a question or flag them like, oh, you missed this thing, I could get the input, shove it in the appropriate field, and fix a validation issue or something like that. Whereas if I wanted to try and support that without this feature, well, now I've got to create a global field and do the naming and lighting that stuff up and making sure that your periodic record locking issues there and stuff like that. It was just
Cool. All right. I like this feature. It's being more consistent, right? Now we have this from insert from URL, right? We have this now here. So any place where data comes in from external sources, those are being made consistent by allowing us to use the variable.
Dumb question. The variable can be local or global.
Yeah,
You define it in the custom dialog?
you do right here. You define it. Yep. So it doesn't even have to exist at the beginning. It could. You could declare it in your. Do you see that right down here where my? Well, here. Let's just.
But you can't define it earlier.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you could define it earlier. I wouldn't see a problem with that because SCD.
FileMaker scripts don't substantively distinguish between defining a variable and assigning a variable. So it would stomp all over your value if you previously assigned it.
But that's a good point of practice. I mean, in JavaScript, right, we're supposed to be declaring our variables. We don't have to always fill them with values, but
That is an interesting thought. Would it pre-populate?
with
Did you put in a variable that you already assigned a value to? When it brings up the dialog, is it going to show you the previous value?
let's try it.
Are you sure about this?
This is a crappy response. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. So set variable test. What is your favorite ITE RDI? There we go. That's good enough. All right. Input RDI. And we've got it in tests. Okay. Let's use this. So we've declared FN perception in test. And let's see what happens. Boom. Oh, yeah. Discovered something. That's pretty awesome. All right.
So you can write snarky scripts like do a fight. Is this what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Did you mean?
That's it. That's interesting. That's worth exploring more what you could do with it, right?
I can
Because
almost imagine like some engineer sitting at the bench thinking about how that should work.
We can like choose your own adventure story.
There you go.
all right. Create directories is a fun one. So we now have the ability to create a directory, that is, create a folder in a certain path if it doesn't already exist. All of these are supported. There's a couple caveats for WebDirect and Go, which I'll mention in a bit, but
Well, it just doesn't work in WebDirect.
doesn't work. And then Go, it only goes to the temporary folder, which I don't know why you would create a directory in the temporary folder, but that's what the documentation
I
says.
think it's because the documents folder doesn't support folders. Some folders in the documents folder.
Does it temporary? I thought the temporary gets taken away.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is really cool because it seems like you would still have to build whatever path you want, but if you do get desktop path and then you say my folder, photos, and then you have the export field contents go in there, and the photos folder doesn't already exist, you can create it on the spot. Yeah.
Can you create from values and variable, like from stuff in fields? And
Yes.
variables and all
Yep.
that stuff? Okay.
So they can name it themselves.
Yeah, they could use the custom dialog to name it there. You could give it a default name with that variable, and then they can change it, and that variable gets updated. And I did test this. If you have a folder, if you do export field contents, you do create directories on. No, you create directories off, but your output file includes a directory other than get documents path or get temporary path, it's going to cause an error. So, yeah, you're right. If you've already created the folder, you mean the folder on the desktop, like get desktop path /folder or /photo, and it's already there, then won't have any problem. But if it's trying to create it and you've got that off, then that's going to cause a problem. So
I used to create a bunch of systems that generated large quantities of reports, usually in PDF or Excel format, just to spit out a ton of data. And as a general rule, if I wanted the user to be able to access those, I had to stick them on the desktop.
yeah,
Unless I wanted to incorporate a plugin or remind them to make a folder on the desktop, shove everything into.
Yeah.
That was kind of obnoxious, so the ability to just go, no, put it there. If it's not there, then make it there.
Yeah.
And go, then make it there.
Or just use the command line tools to create a directory. It's a kludgy way of doing it. You have to do it different on Mac and Windows, and then figure out how to do it anywhere else.
And does this get rid of the need to use the base elements plugin that creates folders?
For the purpose of creating folders, maybe.
I used to still the character folders.
Yeah, like you have the list of folders to see if it exists, you're still going to need something else.
Yep. Okay. Wonderful. So that's pretty good. Like that function.
Yeah.
And you really don't want to have something like your
What?
user or your documents directory if you've got 150 million documents there.
That's what I can.
All right.
And that, like,
Wait.
developer documentation will generate tens or hundreds of thousands of text files.
Oh, we do.
For various things.
Yeah. Okay. Going good. Copy paste custom menus. We now can, with the advanced tools, everybody has access to custom menus. We can now copy and paste custom menus. If I create my own custom menu, I can then copy it, and as you see here, I put it into Visual Studio Code, and I can do anything I want to this, edit it. As long as it's correct, then I can stuff it back into, I can paste this XML into a new file, so forth. So that's pretty cool. I don't actually use custom menus too much because the interface is confusing, and use cases don't always call for that. So
This interface is actually less confusing than the configuring interface.
I use it quite a bit, that's going to be a huge thing too.
yeah.
You have like a 56 item checklist that says to do this menu.
So you could, in things like, I was going to talk to Todd about this, but Generator could potentially generate, you could build a FileMaker tool to create the XML to create a custom menu. Actually, that's interesting. Well, no, people who don't have full access to it can't get into this. But I was wondering if they could somehow create a custom menu that gave them more access than they should. But no, that's probably not going to work.
It's also interesting to note that this is the first time that FileMaker has put the XML in the clipboard as text.
Yes, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So you can copy the menus, go to a text editor, hit paste, and there's the XML for the
So I
menu.
can just shoot it out tape and then copy that back in.
Sure, but you can also edit it, throw it back in the clipboard, and paste it in there. It'll round trip it as a text file rather than.
I'm just trying to replace like line occurrence or something.
Yep.
On the flip side, it is not the same as the DDR XML, and so adding the ability to copy custom menus from a DDR was a bloody nightmare.
But is that true for scripts and other things that we can paste
They're
into?
almost exactly the DDR XML.
Oh, okay. This is the only thing that's completely different.
This is different in the same way that the default fields XML is different from the standard fields page.
Right?
All right.
That's how it's
Short.
on its own.
Cool. So this is something, if you use custom menus a lot, it's going to be a time saver for you. If you don't use them, who cares, right? But at least you can now do it. And and you don't even have to bring it into a text editor. You can just copy it from one file, paste it into another, right? So,
If nothing else, it's one step closer to everything in FileMaker is copy and pasteable.
Yep.
Like, there are a couple of notable missing things, but they're knocking out like one per version, one per FileMaker version, not one per version.
That's not nearly enough.
But, yeah.
and since FileMaker, Generator again can do scripts, so we could probably create our own custom menus. That's pretty cool. All right, let's keep on going. It's funny because someone might build an interface that's actually easier to use than what it is right now. I know that people don't like them. I know that there needs to be some changes to working with the custom menus. But it was interesting. I had to think about this because it's not a custom menu set. You can't copy a custom menu set. This doesn't work, Command-C. You can.
You can copy custom menu sets, custom menus, or custom menu items. It's actually 3 items. Copy and paste it.
Let me check that because I was trying it earlier.
You're right there, copy the thing and paste it.
Okay, I'm going to go, I copied it. Now I'm going to go to my manage. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny, it didn't bring over all of them though, right? So.
You cannot copy the standard.
No, I copied oh, you can't copy the standard. You can only copy the ones
So
that
if you went into a system that doesn't have a custom menu set, there wouldn't be anything that you could copy.
It seems like it'd be going out of the way to limit that.
There's also, I filed a bug going, why can't I copy this? I'd like to look at the XML for it. Like, if you really want to if you want to say no at the paste, not at the copy.
Yeah.
Now, there is also a bug here in the current version of FileMaker where if you paste a menu set and then hit cancel and then come back in, you get a blank item in the row, and deleting that item will have weird behaviors.
Oh shoot, shouldn't have done that in this file.
No.
So
Didn't do it there. I can make it happen over and over again. I don't know why it was working for you, but it works very consistently for me. No, that was, I double checked it first thing. So, I mean, granted, I didn't find that until literally like a week before FileMaker wrote it, so they did not have time to fix it. But you can do funny things to a database if you start pasting those in and then hit cancel.
okay, interesting. Send multiple attachments is another new feature. We can now either add them using the button down below here as we hard code some of them in there, or we can use the specify file one file path per line to add multiple attachments to an email. There's some other changes here that I'm not, because I don't actually do the multiple emails has some functionality taken out of it. No, I don't know what it was, but anyway, it's there. The multiple attachments are useful. We don't have to do. How would you do this before? You would have to append all of the attachments together, maybe, or what?
Hoping the same kind of thing. What you said. Export that, zip that.
Export zip and then sends.
I think the thing that changed here as far as the multiple emails go is I think the default used to be multiple emails. Is that what it was?
Actually, the wording has changed. One email using data from the current record. That's what it says in 15 or in 17, but in 16, it said something different. Mail. Didn't it say something different? Nope, that was right. Why is it? There's something different going on here.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. All right, so that's pretty cool using that. If you use this functionality a lot, or if you send multiple emails, it's worth hooking this up right away. Correct. It's a great thing. It's very underappreciated or underreported. I know Lumenfire did something today on it, but the button setup now has the optional script parameter there available for us. And just clicking on that, it's a little inconsistent because clicking on the optional script parameter row there opens up the calculation dialog versus the little calc dialog button that we have over on the side. So, yeah. But that's great that we can now type our parameter in there without having to, do it in the selection of it there. In fact, I don't even think it's there anymore. I'm pretty sure it's not there anymore. But what?
It's kind of ridiculous that they still have the options under like that closing.
Yeah,
And it's closed by default.
That's ridiculous. So we do have it in the selection. We can select it when we select a script. Oh, that's weird. How come that's okay? That's interesting. I didn't notice that. How do I? There we go. Okay, so we have the optional script parameter here, but we can put it here as well. And that just opens up the calc dialog right away for us to use. So that's definitely going to be a change because we're so used to doing this and then having to hit the edit button. They've removed a couple steps for us. So, but yeah. All right.
It's almost like they thought they were going to add a whole bunch more options, so they made it like a collapsible drawer, but it's only ever 2 components.
At the moment. I think that I predict that they're going to move this into a panel.
I wish they would, because those little widgets just pop up randomly, never where I want them to be, always too low on the screen.
That was how in the last place.
Yeah.
But I feel, I right click on something I want, and I double click on it, and it shows off screen, draws below the screen.
They
I know they know how to make popovers show up in front of the screen.
well, I think their goal is to get rid of as many modal dialogues as possible, if not all of them. And this is just, and any of these that are like free flowing wherever, you know, I wouldn't mind if this were in a panel that.
So as long as they let you take out, they let you go with the inspector, right? If you want to new one, then that's by default side here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's their different workspace schema than other programs. All right, let's keep going. Add-ons. Add-ons are great. We probably won't use them much. Well, I'll withhold judgment. But it's basically, I've got a company table here, Acme company. I can quickly, without a lot of programming, add a new portal. But watch this. Watch how this works. I can add an add-on of predefined XML defined structure add-ons, and it will create the object for me right away. It uses, unfortunately, it doesn't use the same theme that I'm using on my layout. It builds the tables though. So it built those two tables there. It built the relationships right away, which is why we need something. Exactly. Yeah.
But it'll build green and radio.
Yeah. Oh, awful names. We don't have any control over those at the moment.
Yeah, I was looking at the documentation on this earlier. It looks like there's three criteria in this for. You don't have to have something with that primary key tag or anything. It's fields that use auto serial number and auto enter calculation. It uses get UUID or get UUID number. That makes just those things. So and the field is stored. That is stored calculation field.
Okay. And that makes sense because if you bring a 16 or 15 file into 17, you still need to be able to work with it, and because it's doing one of those three things, right?
Yeah. I do wonder what happens if you have a serial field and you UUID field. That's the kind of thing.
It's going to pick the first one that matches.
It's really nice and not nice.
Yeah, but then that's just a simple change, right? So you just then open up your managed database and go, oh, they're the wrong field. I'll just fix it and move on. I don't think anybody would create an add-on and then just move on to the next task.
Right.
They would double check everything, right? So.
I don't see this as a much of
What?
I don't think this is much of a developer feature. We're all going to do this another way.
Yeah.
But I think like I can run the code for about all the time. They just don't have to find out. And this helps them get that for their own life.
But you also have to think in our perspective of 3 to 5 years down the road where we write our own versions of this, where like I know specifically what portal I want with the related data. I just want to be able to draw that.
So two things about this. Number one, when I first created this, I wanted the portal to be this big, but it resized itself to as big as it needed. So that seems to be a waste because I'm trying to design this layout. And when we design, Yeah. So portals, we know how big we want them to be, and this resizes it. And this actually, so it's a pain. It uses a different theme than what my layout's theme is, and that's not good. It does a couple other things. Again, creating that button, not particularly fond of that. It created the tables, which was nice, but used weird naming conventions.
It's a really weird location and style for that plus button.
Yeah. It was just somebody's decision at FileMaker, right? And that's fine. And it's great for people that are coming into the FileMaker platform. They can quickly add on, create a bunch of add-ons, and they've got a system that works for them, right?
And you can restyle it if you want.
Yeah, so that's actually interesting. I didn't think of that, though. I wonder, it picks up on a different style. So just looking at the style, the local styling, I wonder. So here's my sample. Yeah, everything is local overrides because it doesn't match mine. So I would just have to go to everything and revert changes to style, which that could take some time, right? Select them all and do it all at once. So that's good. The universal touch theme is great, the new theme that's out there, but If it doesn't match mine, then it's universal touch. Then it's just one more step that we have to take care of. So, there we go.
So will this actually save somebody in?
Not us, probably. Probably a new to FileMaker person would use this, and we would want to encourage them because it does teach them the correct way to set up the relationships, right? Even though we don't like the names, they can read
scripts.
Yeah, it's
rather than doing single step.
So see, it created all those scripts. It actually put the parameter in there too. This is basically an XML. Somebody wrote this XML, stuffed it somewhere up in FileMaker where we can't see it, and it's perfect for us.
And like I said, we can start making features like this to distribute it out. That's like modular FileMaker.
Oh, so if you can do Go Draw as a one button press integration.
Oh my God. That was,
It puts in all the fields, it puts in all the scripts, it loads the data into those tables,
Creates the layout.
preps the whole thing, will map out the layout. Yeah, I mean, when all of that can just get dropped in one drop, that could be huge for almost everything on the modular FileMaker side of things.
Yeah. So
That's not today, but
So sometime, but again, we're getting glimpses of, like you said, of what maybe is coming when we see that it could create something with an XML document really simply. When can I create this XML document and how do I create that XML document? So, all right, see if we have anything left. I'm skipping over a lot. Oh, I love this one. It's messy, but the Go local notifications. So we now have a configure local notification script step. Has a ton of options, which I really, whoever named these, I just can't believe they did this. Button 1, 2, 3 label. It took me a while to read about what these mean.
They're actually all based on the parameters that iOS uses to generate website.
Okay. So we can put in buttons here. We can create a local notification. Here's what it looks like. We'll start with that. On my iPad, on my iPhone, this is what it looks like. Where to go? Jeez, timing is way off. Sorry guys. Let's do that again. So it looks like this. Jeez. So I've got, it says FileMaker Go. I wrote check-in as the title. I have some text there. And then if I had pulled this down, I would see my buttons. So I didn't grab a screenshot of that. But that allows us to create the XML, create the script, create the notification for when Go is in the background. I don't think this is going to come up if Go is active. But you could have a button in your layout that says, hey, remind me that I need to get this task done. Give them a delay of, 10, well, this is 10 seconds, so it could be,
I think you should still come up with the active. Once the notification is reviewed, they're out of the app scan.
We'll have to try that. I know that it specifically says in the documentation when it's in the background, but it doesn't say it won't come up in the foreground.
it's actually even a step better than that because if they're using the iOS notification engine, it will work when FileMaker Go is not present in memory at all.
Okay, great. And that's a good point. You can turn off the notification for this application for FileMaker Go, and this won't show up even if you set it.
Sure.
I use a custom work timer for some of the workflows, so I could actually make that into this now.
Yes. So you give it a title, you give it a body, you can see it up there in the options. There's 3 buttons there with labels.
You give it an action.
Give it an action, yes.
So it runs a script when it goes back.
And depending on the buttons, right? So and here's what it looks like. So when you press a button on the notification, it sends back to FileMaker this information. The name of the notification, so 1, 2, or 3, the name that I gave each one of those, the button title, and then was this allowed? The foreground state is, was this allowed to be pushed into the foreground? Because some of those, you can disable the foreground push. Like you click on the notification and it just goes away, so you dismiss it, right? But here, I'm allowing it to come to the front, FileMaker Go to come to the front. So you can use this then to do some logic inside of your script, which is actually inconsistent with show custom dialog buttons, right? So I wonder if they're ever going to change, because we always say if get last message choice equals 1, but here we're actually if get button pressed, if get value of this list is finished. So we're actually using the word finished or custom designed ones. So it's a little inconsistent, but maybe they'll fix custom dialog soon. All right, let's keep going. See if we got a data migration tool. There's a lot here.
So much there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. You could do a whole session on it, which I'm sure you will do that in the future. But it just allows you to migrate data from a target file into a clone. There's a lot of using the command line. There's a lot of caveats to that, but it's actually really useful. And people are already starting to make tools. This is somewhere. Whim to Court has one. Pretty basic. Nothing too fancy about this. But I know Klaus has got one. We're working on one. Who did you say?
Claude.
Yeah, him. Yeah. Is there anybody else?
Klaus. Sorry.
Klaus.
Klaus.
I think, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there that are already putting these tools together. So it removes the command line, but this is a good chance actually to learn the command line too, right? There's nothing wrong with working with the command line. So.
This is an actual migration tool. Right?
Yes, and it does it in a ton faster than any way you could come up with.
So can I make a clone of a file?
Yep.
Work on that for a month and add a bunch of new features?
No.
Okay, that's not a migration.
Do you want to?
No, the tables and the fields have to be the same, but you can make all the changes.
It's the clone issue.
Yeah, it's the clone issue.
It's the
Go
clone
ahead.
issue. You can do that, but then you still have to make a clone of that before you migrate it. It can never be opened. You make a clone and you cannot open that.
So I can use the developer version and then I make a clone of the developer version.
Yes.
So I've got
Or on the server.
And the reason, apparently, when you open a clone, it adds localization to the file, and then this tool doesn't see it as a clone. It's no longer a clone once you've added localization. So,
We're trying.
what'd you say?
Skeleton has its own.
Okay.
Migrator. We're just praying that this is going to save it.
So what it did is so this is how I set mine up. I have a source and a target folder. I have the command line executable here. And then it creates this right here. So from the clone, that's pretty awesome. Todd's working on a tool right now that will actually take these off of the server, make the backups, the clones, and do the migration, and then put them back up on the servers. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
So in terms of speed, 500,000 records with text only in about 35 seconds on my iMac.
That's the one feature that's going to make me upgrade some stuff.
Yeah?
You can run this, but you don't have to be
No.
17.
You don't have to be in 17.
Yeah, you just have to be an FPS subscriber to get access to it.
Yeah.
But what's cool, I'm not a very big command line person, so
Yes, exactly. Repping them, yeah.
what I find cool is
User accounts and passwords.
what I find cool on the Mac is that I can actually drag the executable into the terminal and do all the things that I need to do. So I don't know how to do this. See, I don't know terminal at all, but I actually just dragged this in here and it set up the correct path. And then
No, I think that's going to tell you how to do it. Productive computing has something.
Productive Computing has one. Thank you.
Slide has one too.
Selenium, yep, that was Wim's. Yep. Very cool. Thanks, Bev. So this allows me, and then all the information is here. You can be very verbose with it. It takes a little bit longer to do a verbose migration. But then people like Wim and Todd, and I don't know if you guys are doing it, but you can then take the log that is generated by this migration and push it into a FileMaker file and analyze it. So
Sam, earlier we were talking about making a file and trying to move data into it, how that data used to be. Forget what I said.
yeah, it doesn't work with externally stored container data. It might not even work with stored container data. I'm not sure because yeah. So it's expected that the data will be fine. It transfers over what? Value lists, accounts, privilege sets. You can choose to ignore any of those, but it will bring over those items by default. And you really just enter the path, the account, password, encryption key, clone, and you're good to go. Exactly. That's what I've been doing. I think it's pretty dang cool. Yeah. So that works really nicely. All right, I don't know if there's any more data migration. Just a couple Go things. Autocomplete is available now when a field is attached to a value list, but that's kind of normal. Launch Center, we can now hold down, tap and hold, and we have a couple options. We can even rename files. No, still nothing extra with the hosts. All right, so I skipped over some. We didn't talk anything about server because that's the thing that I don't know the most about, and it's already getting late anyway. So any features that I missed that we could take a look at in 5 minutes? I think I got most of them.
Any major, I know you don't know much about that,
Yeah.
Mike as well, like any major allows with 17 server?
It's completely different.
Console is completely different. But is it
Awesome.
No, I mean, like the back end is the same.
Yeah. Let me see if I have that.
Essentially, it builds on the
Cloud.
yeah. Well, no, not the cloud. The cloud was building on the admin API.
See if I have.
The last version. So they use the same technology that they use for cloud. They used Node.js to essentially create a dashboard that executes admin API commands.
Here's basically what it looks like.
Oh.
So it's a complete rewrite from the ground up, and they do have a lot of features that are now either in the command line or the data API. You can't do everything here anymore. Like, you can't disable backups, I think. I don't know. Yeah, right here. Oh, no, you can. You can change it there. You actually can't, I'm sorry, you can't disable any backups here. You have to do it from the command line, I think, now. So a couple, and Wim and Stephen Blackwell did this huge page on all of the things. It's somewhere in here there's a matrix. I actually haven't seen it yet. It's in there. Let's see here. So it's a lot of changes, and it's worth exploring every bit of it. Oh, they spend time looking at, here's the old version, here's the new version. So
Yeah, that's good.
it's a good.
Long read, but it's a good read.
But it's really like we're starting all over with the server, right? So
it's a lot of things you're familiar with. They're just laid out in a different way. But the problem that this solves is that it's no longer dependent on system level Java. So you can now, if somebody accidentally installs a Java update, it's not going to break your admin. It'll still break web directly.
where's that matrix? Is it clear back at the end? Right here.
Yeah.
So there's a matrix that says what action you can do and where you can do that. So, all right. Well, that is it for the night. We didn't do any JavaScript stuff, which makes me sad, but that's okay. So be it. Yes. All right. Any questions on? Client has a download link. Yep. No longer draft. All right. Well, 17. Let's start using it today. Everybody download it right now.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks. Goodbye.